Hey beautiful, this is Andrea, your 40-year-old bride, and I'm so excited to be here with you today because we're talking about something that I literally just experienced. And I just want to encourage you, if you are in the same boat that I was, it's totally doable. Can you plan a wedding in 2 months? It is so possible. And I'm going to tell you my quick story behind all that as well, so you can know like the background behind it all. And then we'll get into the tips, which I know the vast majority, especially tip number 1, is very different from what a lot of other people say out there, because there's plenty of stuff out there about checklists. You can find a wedding planning checklist anywhere for 10 months, for 2 years, for 5 months, for 4 months. It doesn't matter. It's out there. But I've got at least tip number 1 is one you do not see on any checklists whatsoever, which is very surprising. And there's a couple other things that might not be on those standard checklists. So I hope this is helpful to you. Be sure to follow me, Andrea Theo John, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you are. And also, if you're listening to this on podcast, rate, review us, leave me a comment. I love to hear those. I mean, this is new, so I want feedback. I need to hear from you. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to this very baby new channel. Subscribe, hit that button. All right, and let's go. All right, so let me give you the background first on my 2-month journey of planning. So I actually was engaged. I got engaged in February of this year. This is 2021 currently. My wedding was in October. So you might be like, wait a minute, Andrea, pump the brakes. That's not 2 months. No, what is that? February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. That's 8 months. It's 8 months from the time I was engaged. However, really the planning didn't really start happening until honestly 2 months out. So we got engaged in February. March was my birthday month. I turned 40. Hello. Thank you. It's a big year. It's a big year. And then what happened next? March I turned 40. I was looking for venues in earnest. I was trying to lock in a date and all that good stuff. I think in April I was able to lock down a venue. So, and it took a lot to do because there was so much to that, because we ended up doing it in a city where none of us lived and all of that for a reason I'll tell you in just a moment when we talk about venues. So we didn't lock anything down until April this year. And after that, I was like, great, the weight was lifted. The big thing that was needed to at least give people a heads up of when it is so they can start thinking of traveling and planning and all that. That was out of the way. So the date and the time was locked. So everything everyone says about that checklist of get your venue in is so right, because you got to have the venue locked so you can dock a date, so then you can start telling people when it is. Obviously, that's not my number 1 tip. We'll talk about venues, but it's not my number 1 tip. That happened in April when we locked down the venue, and then I'm an entrepreneur by day. So I was busy all about my business, and I did hire a planner, which is a must. That's also a tip we'll talk about. You must hire a planner. If you cannot afford a planner for your whole wedding journey, I highly recommend a day of coordinator for your wedding day. You must. Do not even bother getting married without some kind of coordinator. I don't care if they're officially a wedding coordinator and it's their day business. I don't care if it's your mom. I don't care who it is. Somebody's got to be in charge of everything that day. It cannot be you. Okay? Darlings, it cannot be you. You must have a day of coordinator, period. If you can't afford one, if you can't find one who's willing to do it, and it better be someone, if it's a family friend member, they better be someone who's used to events and very competent and capable to handle everything without bothering you all day, okay? It's gotta be that type of person. If you don't have that in your networks and your circles and you can't afford a day of coordinator, please do a courthouse wedding. Please just do a simple, easy, no fuss, no muss, courthouse level wedding, backyard, anything small, do that, because without that, it's not gonna be worth the heartache. Okay. So I had my planner, and in my head I was thinking, I know my planner is fabulous. I know that she's fabulous because I've been watching her for years. She's been recommended forever, and I've always known I am using her when the time comes. And so she's been on notice a couple times. We had some wedding scares. We thought we might be getting married before. Anyway, so for a long time I knew I was going to use her, and so in my head I was like breathing a sigh of relief because I had the date, the venue, and my planner locked down, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be fantastic because she'll never let me down. She does great work. She does phenomenal work. And so I felt like I could rest easy and just kind of go about my business as usual. And I did all summer long, May, June, July, August. Yeah, up until August, May, June, July, for 3 whole months. I totally hardly thought about my wedding. My future sister-in-law encouraged me to do a virtual engagement party so that our families could meet each other before the big day. So we did that, and we'll talk about that too, especially in another video, because I have so many tips for that, virtual engagement parties. But besides that, and I think that was in May, besides that, I was on coast mode, May, June, July. Nothing happened for my wedding at all. And I'm not gonna put that on my planner because, you know, truth be told, she was inundated too with COVID weddings popping up. Like, planners now are so inundated. They've got double, triple the weddings, and 2022 is going to be like that also. If you're watching this in this time frame, 2022 is going to be a slam out wedding year because of all the people who've been delaying their weddings because of 2020. And all that being said, I kind of coasted through the summer with no cares. I went to the beach with my family as usual. My sister got married in July, you know, and that was kind of the focus for a minute. Then I got a puppy in the summer, and she was my focus. Between my business and the puppy and my sister's wedding, like, I was not thinking about my own wedding whatsoever. I really was like, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Every time anyone asked me about the wedding, I was like, it's fine, because I have a planner, so it'll be fine, it's gonna be great, don't worry about it. It's really how I felt. Fast forward, it was not until August, which was 2 months away from my wedding date in October, September, October, yeah, August, 2 months away, when my future sister-in-law, who was so nice and always checking in on me, and she had just gotten married with a very, very tiny COVID wedding. They only let her have 15 people. It was so small, like, in, I want to say, December last year, and it was cold, and she was beautiful. It was just the most beautiful thing. And so she was busy checking on me because she had just gone through this process of going through a wedding, albeit a micro wedding. And she was like, how's it going? How's the planning going? She always asked that every month. And so in that month in August, she was like, how's it going? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. You know, I have a planner, my typical answer for everything. And she said, well, I can't believe it's 2 months away. And I was like, is it? I'd been so busy just running my business as usual and dealing with the new puppy and just living my life and just thinking like this level of safety and complacency in my head that everything was fine. And just hit me when she said that there was only 2 months to go. And literally, besides the venue, nothing else was locked down. I had no other vendors locked down, none of it. So now on to what you really want to know. Sorry for all that background. Here are my tips, having lived through essentially whipping together a wedding in 2 months, basically. I'm going to give you my tips on how to do it and what I did and what I wish I knew before I started that, because I'm certain if 40-year-old Andrea 6 months ago had seen this, she would be taking notes like, oh snap, I need to be doing that now. I need to be talking about planner about that now, you know. So here we go. Tip number 1 is vision. When you do this planning process, and I'm telling you, none of these checklists have this on here whatsoever. I don't know why, but I am an event planner also. And so I know the power of vision. You got to have vision. You must have vision locked down. You know why? Because when you get to the point where you've got to run with a 2-month window, you don't have time to mess around whatsoever. Clearly, you don't have time. So your vision's got to be on lock. You've got to be able to articulate that clearly, and not just articulate it. You got to be able to share the images, the photos you've been saving, your Pinterest boards, your file folders, all of that, you've got to be able to share that with future vendors, because they've got to know if they can accomplish the vision that you've got for your day. Okay. And so if you have not already done the research and don't have the vision in place, my dear, take one weekend right now, the weekend coming up, in addition to these other tips I'm about to give you, take one weekend right now, pause, do your research. No more than one weekend. Take one weekend, do all your research on the kind of wedding you want. Save the pictures, organize them well, save it into your file folders. I recommend on your laptop, because this is going to be easier for you. On your laptop, you can put it in a Dropbox folder in case you need to get it on your mobile, on your cell, and that's going to be easiest for you. But you got to do your research, and you got to have your vision in place, because you cannot articulate it. You're not going to get what you want if you don't have that done. So stop right now and do that vision and research work. Okay, so in addition to your vision and your research, you also need your numbers. And in order to get to numbers, you've got to have a list. So all of these things kind of have to happen immediately. Week one, lock all this down immediately. Vision, your numbers, and your budget. And what was your other thing? Your research. Vision, research, and your numbers and budget. Okay, so to get to budget, you got to have your numbers, and to get to numbers, you got to have your list locked down. And that is so critical. So, okay, pause. Funny story. So, well, maybe not so funny. It's funny now. It was not funny then. So back in February when we first got engaged, like the very next morning, the first thing I said to him was, we need that list. We got to get a list down. And if you know my hubby, he's like the opposite of me. So opposite of me totally. So he was like not thinking about a contact list. He's like, yeah, I'll get it. Fast forward 8 months later, did I still have a list? No. And I bugged him to death about it 50 times. And after a while, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not happening. And then you know what happened in the summer. So, and I hated to say I told him so. I didn't say I told him so, but I was really thinking it. Seriously though, I was like, what? Bear, I call him Bear. I was like, Bear, I can only do my part of the list. I can't do your part of the list for you. I can tell you numbers, but you still got to get the names down for me. And then in addition to the names, I need emails, addresses, phone numbers, all that on the list. A list is work. A list takes time. And so I'm telling you that as well. A list is work, and a list takes time. And if you don't have your list together yet, honey, you're going to need a week alone to get your list together. If you're having, I'd say, 100+ person wedding, which we were able to accomplish successfully during COVID without anybody, thank the Lord, without anybody getting COVID. I will tell you about that later as well. It might be in another video, but we'll talk about that too, how we were able to accomplish that and the rules and safety things we put in place. But you know, if you got a 100+ person wedding, it's going to take some time to get that list together. Not only the names and agreeing upon who's going to be in that number, because that number is going to go fast. 100. Think about it. 100 people, and if you're being equitable, 50 for him, 50 for you, or 50 for your partner, 50 for you. That 50, when you think about plus ones, everybody's not going to have plus one clearly, but just break it down like this, just so you know. 50 people broken down into plus ones is 25 couples. 25, we have more people than that coming to Thanksgiving, and that's just our own nuclear family alone. So to consider family, friends, people you used to work with, church people, all these people in your circles, all the organizations you're involved with, because you, my dear, are a 40-year-old woman plus 40-ish year old woman. You're independent, you're mature, you've got an established career. So there's a vast number of circles of people to consider. And there's a lot of thought that goes into that. So this is why COVID is kind of a little bit of a blessing. And even after COVID, you can still do this. This is why it ended up being so genius, doing a sort of a destination wedding where it's out of the city where anybody is. So the people who are coming are people who really, really want to be there for you. And that makes a difference. So kind of doing a destination-ish wedding in tandem with a virtual wedding. Because then you can hit up all the people you forgot. And not just, I'm gonna say just forgot, but also you can't fit everyone in a 100-person bucket. You just cannot, not at this stage. If I invited everybody that I wanted at my wedding, and I would have loved to have seen there, and it would have been amazing to have them there. Excuse my stomach if you hear this on video. I hope not, but it's rumbling like crazy, so I gotta eat lunch. Anyway, if I were to invite everybody that I wanted to be there, it would have been a 500-person wedding easily, or more. That's being conservative, because he knows a lot of people, I know a lot of people, and to get all the people we would have wanted if money were no object, easily it could have been over 500, 800. You could have talked about 1,000 people. I'm serious. I'm not playing. So, this is why the list is so hard. And I think it gets harder the older you get. When you're younger, in your 20s, and you're doing a wedding, I think it's harder if your parents happen to be helping you. Not every 20-year-old has that luxury, but if you happen to have parents who are able to help you, it's harder, because then they're paying the bill, or they're footing a large portion of the bill for you, so therefore they kind of have a say in who gets on the list. So you've got those stresses when you're younger, but when you're older, if you're like us, and we took care of our wedding ourselves for the most part, with the exception of small gifts, thank you, Mom. Mom on behalf of Dad, and Mom on behalf of both of you. With the exception of small gifts like that, we largely took care of the wedding ourselves, because we should. We're older, we're more independent. We could potentially have kids who are old enough to get married now themselves. We don't, but we could, and so we ought to be able to handle our wedding ourselves, and we did. But all that to say, guest lists are important. Start it right now. You need to get it refined right now. And really that has to happen in week 1. Lock it down, and anybody else who doesn't fit into that 100-person bucket, or whatever number bucket you're going with, put them into your virtual guest list. Let them come to that if they can. Okay, that's how we handled it. And just let people know. COVID right now, you got the best excuse ever in the world. You could just let people know it's a smaller wedding. It's close friends and family, which it was for us. It's close friends and family, and even then, you're not even able to fit in all your close friends and family into that small bucket. So just let people know, we love you. We want you to be there. There is a virtual wedding. We're trying to make it as special as possible. So, that's kind of how you talk to people about all that. So again, vision, research, and those numbers, honey. Week 1, lock it down. Vision, lock it down in a weekend. Week 1, lock down your numbers and your guest list. And immediately, as so much work, and this is what, get that contact information in that list. First name, last name, emails, how you're addressing people, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, Mr. and Mr. la la la, whatever the addressee name is. Get that on paper. All that needs to be in a spreadsheet, so that when it's time for you to finally get all those invitations addressed, it's all there for you. But all that has to be there first before anything else can happen. So nothing happens until the venue's locked down, that date, that place is locked down. Nothing happens until you know your numbers, because you got to be able to tell your venue how many people you're expecting, and it will grow. It will grow. We thought, in a crack world, we were thinking, this pipe dream world, that we were going to have 50 people. We were trying to make it kind of a micro, smaller, really truly intimate wedding, and just make it special for those 50 people. But I already told you, Thanksgiving alone in a non-COVID year is over 30 people in the house easily. So, and that's just my side. So 30, keeping it to 50 was unrealistic. Honestly, it was too hard. Too many core key people would have been left out, and so we expanded it and we got it to 100. And that's what we ended up with. So we got 100 people there, and so our ultimate invite list was probably 150 or so, 120. Don't kill me, babe. It was about 120, 125. It kept creeping up. We tried to keep it down, and about 108 people ended up showing up. So, which says a lot. That says a lot, because during COVID, because we kind of did this last minute, and people didn't get their final invitations until maybe 6 weeks before, 5 weeks. I got to check that timeline. All right. Can I make that any more clearer? Vision, numbers, budget. You got to talk budget. It's got to be real, and it's got to be movable. This has to be movable, liquid money. You got to be able to move it because you don't have time anymore. We're not in deposit world. We are in almost fully paying people up front. When you get down to 2 months and 1 month out, you are paying people up front to lock them in for your day, and you got to be able to move that money and do it. So be very realistic about that budget and how much money you really got and your cash flow, whatever you got access to with credit. If anything, use that, but be realistic about what you've got and be able to move it quickly. So if you're thinking, oh yeah, I've got stocks, I can cash those out and blah, blah, blah. It takes time, honey bunches. It takes time for your stock to cash out. So FYI, that's all right. And we're going to move on from those top 3, but the top 3 is the most critical. I'm moving in order of what's most critical here. So there you are with your top 3 most critical points. Moving on. Another key point is flexibility. This isn't on anybody else's checklist. I'm just telling you. Flexibility. Vision isn't on a lot of people's checklists, and flexibility is not on a lot of people's checklists. So if you are on a time crunch, in a 2-month time crunch to get this wedding planned, you must be flexible. You cannot be so rigid and say, I can't do a Sunday wedding because I always wanted a Saturday. Okay, honey, well, push your wedding out 2 years because at this rate, these venues are getting locked up fast, especially post-COVID. So you've got to be able to move fast and be flexible at the same time. So is everything going to land 100% on vision with everything you wanted? No, but you got to be okay with that. On some level, you have to be okay with that. And that's just a mindset thing. You can get your mindset right for this wedding. And for you, I highly encourage you to have a mindset of flexibility. Be flexible. See if you can work, be able to move and shake. Don't be so rigid and so stuck on and so tunnel visioned on, something for your vision that you just gotta have. Everything's gotta fit 100% alignment within this original vision you had. Be flexible. If you thought you were gonna get this beautiful fondant cake from a celebrity cake maker and you end up having to go with someone who only does buttercream, move with it, shake with it, honey. Get as close to your vision, something that will work. We're going for things that can work with your vision, even if it wasn't exactly like that picture you wanted, okay? So flexibility, so critical, so key. You must have flexibility in your planning process when you're this close to your wedding, period. If you can't be flexible, please move it out. Please do it 2 years from now, 1 year from now. Give yourself more time if you can't be flexible, because that's not the world you're in right now if you're 2 months away, period. Another quick tip, you can almost 80% plan your wedding between Amazon and Etsy. I'm telling you, Amazon and Etsy got so much of my money for this wedding. Seriously, like our bridesmaid dresses came from Amazon and they were beautiful. They were glittery, they were sequin, they were off the shoulder, one shoulder. They fit, thank God, thank the Lord. We didn't have bridesmaid dresses are high on the list too, because you've got to be able to have some time. I don't care where you get them from. They might need some time to do some little alterations, especially, and thank God we didn't have this problem, but theirs might have come in too small, and there's hardly nothing you can do about that. There's hardly nothing you can do about something that's too small. So there is, but it's a pain. So you'd rather, at least it's better to take it in. Bridesmaid dresses are high on the list, but we got those off of Amazon. Flower girl dresses came off of Amazon, their shoes, their baskets. My jewelry came off of Etsy, which was beautiful, gorgeous. Like it made me feel like a proper mature bride. I felt like established diva with my awesome, like off the shoulder jewelry and big glam diva earrings. Like to me, it took my look from any young age bride look to established woman diva look, which is kind of what I was going for. So that came off of Etsy, the jewelry did. Shoes off of Amazon. These awesome shoes that are like exact replicas of these awesome Jimmy Choo shoes, but not Jimmy Choo shoe prices. I want to say the Jimmy Choo version was $1,000 and these were like $80. You literally could not tell the difference. The quality was great. Everything about it was great. It looked amazing, awesome, and it's for a photo. I mean, you don't even see the shoes otherwise. It's in a photo. But I will say you do see the shoes when you are, if you do a pickup pose, like your hubby picks you up, and your shoes will dangle out of that dress when he picks you up. So we couldn't get my shoes. At that time, I'd already kicked them off and put on flip-flops. So those are the moments when you'll see shoes, when you are being picked up. If there's any moment where he might lift it up for like the garter deal, you'll see your shoes then. And I just kicked off my flip-flops and just had like my bare foot sticking out because that's all I could do in that moment. And you'll see them in photos when your photographer takes them and places them and does this flat lay look with them. At the end, that's all you'll see with your shoes. So that was awesome. That was off of Amazon. So between Amazon and Etsy, 80% of my wedding extras were found on those two sites. It can save your life. Here's another key tip. Seriously. All right, so I want to go back to this venue topic and just share the story of why we chose the venue that we did. So I feel like these should all be separate videos. This is going to end up being so long, but okay, I may have to chop this up and do separate videos. But the venue itself, originally I was looking in Northwest Georgia for venues because we were in Marietta, that's kind of Northwest, and I saw a beautiful, gorgeous venue, like plenty of lovely venues in this area. And it wasn't until I was talking to my mom and I realized my grandma, who I know has dementia, I didn't realize that she was to the point where she couldn't stay the night anywhere. So if we did anything where it was impossible for her to go home that night and she'd have to stay in a hotel, it was not gonna fly, because there's this thing called sundowners, and it's true. My hubby's mom has this too, a little bit, and they get very upset, like a whole nother person. Like you don't even want to be in that space when this happens. Very upset if they don't know that they're on their way home when it gets dark, or they need to be at home when it's dark. And so I didn't realize that. So that changed the game. And I really wanted my grandma there, who's 92. I really wanted her there. And so I shifted everything and I started looking in Southwest Georgia, which was closer to my grandma, who's in Alabama, and my parents. And so then I thought, if whoever is taking her to the wedding that day, if we're closer to them, they'll have a shorter drive and they can stay longer at the wedding and see all the important stuff. And then they can go home afterwards and potentially take food with them and all that. So that's why we started looking in Southwest Georgia. And my planner didn't have any experience. I'd already locked in my planner months and months ago. She didn't have any experience in that area, no vendors, no nothing. I have never really been in that area, Columbus, Georgia. None of our families there. So this became a destination wedding of sorts to a city where nobody lived. And that was a challenge, but we ended up making it all work, thankfully, for many reasons. And so how I found that venue, and this is a cool tip for searching around for venues, especially once you have that venue vision and your whole wedding vision in space, you've done that work of doing your vision for your whole day. What really helped for search purposes was Google image search. Google image search. So go to the image tab on go to the image tab on Google and start searching for the elements that you want. For me, it was brick arches, big brick arches. I wanted yummy brick. Ironically, a lot of those didn't end up in our photos, which shame on me, but it will end up in enough photos. So, but I really wanted that environment where it's open air. This is COVID, so kind of garden, big brick arches, lovely open air kind of a situation. And the brick arches were very important to me. So I started searching brick arches, Georgia, brick arches, Columbus, cities that were closer to my grandma's Southwest Georgia. Or it's more like Midwest, it's more Southwest from us where we are. So yeah, and that is how a picture of the venue that I ended up booking came into view. It was because of Google image search. So try that. If you're running out of luck and you can't really find the space you want, try Google image search for the keywords associated with whatever you want, and you might look up on it that way. It was amazing. Oh, that venue was so dreamy. I love everything about it. I would totally go back and visit just because I love that space. It was basically like an old rundown warehouse mill that got burned down, and then, you know, it got transformed into this beautiful venue space, which was phenomenal. It was perfect. So try Google image search. When you're thinking about your venue, and I know I'm spending a lot of time here, but it's very, very important because you got to lock it down fast. When you're thinking about your venue, there's a couple of things that you really want to take into consideration, like the time of year, elderly. I just went through that story with my grandma. All these things, COVID, it's still COVID. So can you do it in an open air situation where we're lessening people's chances of being exposed or getting sick, you know, because they're not in a small confined indoor space. So these are all things to take into consideration with your venue. Just think about that when you're thinking about your vision and all of this, and just know what things are, you got room for flexibility, and others that are non-negotiables you can't have flexibility on. Okay? About this date. Also try to be flexible on the date, because when you're 2 months out, you're going to have to go to some non-popular times depending on the type of venue that you want. So this is why I say flexibility is important. Try for a Sunday. The Saturdays are probably going to be taken up, obviously, because that's the most popular. It is the wedding day is a Saturday typically. But look at a Friday, look at a Sunday, and people will work their schedules around it. Luckily, our wedding was on October 10th. And so the next day happened to be Columbus Day, which a lot of kids had off of school and some government employees had off, I think. And so it kind of worked out where a lot of people kind of had that day off anyway. And so that was awesome. But either way, just think about it. Like, if your wedding were on a Saturday, a lot of people would take that Friday off for your wedding because they want a travel day, they got to get there and all of this. Unless everything's in town and all your people are in town, but so many people have people living all over. So you're going to have people flying in, okay? You just are. So people are going to have to take time off. So on a traditional Saturday wedding, people take your Friday off and then they have the weekend to do your wedding and then come back on Sunday. So it's kind of the same thing if you do it on a Sunday, which is cheaper. You get more discounts on a Sunday because it's the less popular day. If you do it on a Sunday, people are just going to take that Monday off. They fly in on Saturday, they're there for you Sunday, they come back on Monday. They just take Monday off instead of Friday. I know it's different to think about, but you're just shifting around the day that people are taking off, no problem. It can totally work. It saves you time, it saves you money. Well, not necessarily time. It saves you money because it's a cheaper day and you get the venue that you want. So that's what happened with us. The Saturday I wanted was not available because, you know, just even that far out, it was not available. Honestly, 8 months away isn't that far out, but even that far out, it wasn't available. And so we ended up going with a Sunday, which was available, and it totally worked. So there you go, babies. Try for a Sunday or even a Friday. If you do a Friday, they're just taking that Thursday. A Friday, they're going to have to do 2 days off, most likely, a Thursday and a Friday. So, you know, but that is also a cheaper day. So all things to juggle around and play with in terms of the date. All right, now let's get to communication. Talking about communication for the day. So once that venue date is locked down, now you can start letting people know. And you likely don't have engagement photos. You like it if you're planning 2 months out, you didn't have time to do engagement photos. You don't even have your photographer locked in yet. So you're just going to have to let people know as best you can. And this is what's good about having a more intimate wedding, because a lot of people you know really, really well anyway. They're not people you don't have a great relationship with. So they will understand. They just want to be there for you. So let them know. Message them, text them, email them, however you can get in touch with them. Tell them in passing, let people know, spread the word amongst those that you want to be there, that here's the date, please save it, lock it in on your calendar. We're working hard to get the invitations out. All the details are going to be on there, but until then, please save the date for us. You're giving basically a verbal person to person save the date. You're telling them on text, you're telling them on email, however you can get them. The point is, you want to let them know, especially if travel's involved. For your travelers, you got to let them know ASAP. Don't wait for, to get your photo shoot done and all this, and because you really want to save the date with an engagement shoot. You can have that, but if people have to travel, they need to know ASAP. So the travelers in particular, let them know ASAP. The rule of thumb I've heard out there about invitations in general, like the latest you can let people know is about 6 weeks out. I think we kind of hit that mark. I have to go back and check and see when we finally got our stuff out. But it was definitely at least a month in advance. So, which was hard. We were so behind. People knew as soon as we locked in our venue, the most important people and the people we knew would have to make serious travel plans to get here, they already knew. They already had that. So us giving the invitation was more like, at that point, a nicety. They kind of had the info, but it was just nice to get that in the mail, and it felt special and formal and all that good stuff. So communication is going to be critical throughout this whole 2-month process that you've got. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And that's why, going back to the beginning, this is why that contact list is so important. You can't communicate without contact information. True? So you need to have people. I ended up creating this Facebook group for our in-person attendees and our virtual attendees. So we had 2 different Facebook groups, virtual and in-person. And so for the in-person people, we were able to communicate things as details came up, or just fun stuff too. The city itself, Columbus, isn't necessarily like a super destination wedding. It's not like it's the Bahamas or somewhere in Europe or, with this extensive travel, but it still was a city people had to travel to. And so we wanted people to know there is stuff to do here. And people did take advantage of it. They went whitewater rafting. They checked out stuff in the area we didn't even get to see. Like, it's all because we shared this ahead of time, little tidbits, like here's fun stuff you can do. Here's cool restaurants you can check out. You just get that from, these trusted sites that you can check out for yourself. You do the research information, you share it with your people as you get it, and it just keeps people top of mind so they don't skip it on your wedding day. And it also makes them remember this is coming and helps them plan and all that good stuff. So communicate, communicate, communicate. Use Facebook groups, get an email list together, and that email list, I'm a MailChimp fan, so I personally use MailChimp. My clients in my business, which is a marketing branding firm, a lot of them use Constant Contact in addition to MailChimp. Whatever email system, if you don't have an email system yet, MailChimp you can use for free up until I think 2,000 email subscribers, which you're not going to have 2,000 for your wedding. So unless you're a very special individual. So you can use MailChimp for free, and it's an easy way to kind of plug and play, get some emails together, upload your list, and email out this communication to people on a regular basis. So when you're 2 months away, you kind of want to be hitting up people in the beginning, like every other week, and then as it gets closer, every single week, and even closer, if you can handle it, like every day leading up to the wedding, just so people don't forget and they've got information and all that at their fingertips in their email. Email is real important. So Facebook groups, email, and at the end of the day, you might need cell phone numbers. I was even hitting people up on Facebook, so having a link to their this sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, it was so helpful. Having people in that Facebook group means all you have to do is send information in there. You can send reminders like, hey, we got to have your RSVP by this date. 5 days until your RSVP needs to be in. Don't forget to give us your menu choices, chicken steak or whatever. Facebook is so helpful for that. And then if people aren't on Facebook, for our younger people, they're on Instagram most likely. So find them on Instagram and make sure you're able to quickly find their handles, and all that can be in your spreadsheet. So if you need to follow up with someone, you got all that contact information up front. But again, I can't say it enough. Communicate, communicate, communicate. I kind of already mentioned this earlier, but a day of planner is a must, period. So again, if you can't get one, plan on having something extremely small, intimate, where it hardly matters. If it's not a courthouse thing, it's something a very micro wedding that you can kind of handle yourself. And again, even if it's not a day of coordinator that you hire, you need someone, mom, sister, aunt, friend, colleague, whomever, that's got those A-type personality skills. They're very organized. They maybe planned events before. They're used to putting on events. They're used to running the show. You need somebody like that who can handle everything for you that day, because you don't need to be the person who handles questions. You don't want people looking for you saying, oh my God, the cake person isn't here. What should we do? Like, no one should come to you with any of that, any of those drama problems. It needs to be handled by your day of person, period. Because this is a special day. You know what, like, again, this goes back to vision, but in your vision, consider how you want to feel that day. Your ideal feeling. You wake up. I'm just painting a picture for you. Your picture is going to be different, but I'm just painting a picture for you. You wake up. You see the sunrise. It's beautiful. You might even walk out onto the terrace, look at the river, have your cup of coffee, relax. Thank God for a special day. Get your mind right for the day. Get everything sorted on the inside for the best day of your life to date. There's more to come. And you get dressed, everything's in order, your gown is here, you've got your things to go are already packed, easy peasy. Your girlfriends, bridesmaids are ready, they are in order, they've got themselves together, everybody's on time, everything flows easily, your transportation arrives on time, you get in like a star, you pack up your stuff, and you ride off like a little princess to your venue. You get to your venue, excuse me, queen. We're on queen mode now in our 40s. Right off like the queen that you are to your venue. You get there and you get into your suite. Everything is beautiful. It's already set up. People are setting up your champagne and mimosas for you. All this is happening while you are preparing to get ready for your day. You're watching your bridesmaids get their hair and makeup done. Flawless. They look gorgeous. They're getting their dresses on, and now you are getting your hair and makeup done, and you are the belle of the ball, and you look amazing and you feel amazing. Meanwhile, all the chaos of your wedding is happening behind the scenes. You don't see any of it. The band that's showing up late because there was an accident in Atlanta, which happened to us, you know nothing about, because your day of coordinator is handling it for you. Your planner is handling all those problems for you. The sofa that's supposed to arrive for your photography, all that's being handled by the people who are supposed to handle it. And you, meanwhile, are listening to Beyonce and beautiful, fun girlfriend music while everyone's getting ready to see you walk down the aisle. And then by the time you walk down the aisle, everything is laid out and you just get to feel all the feels, all the emotions that day. All throughout your ceremony, everything's beautiful. You take your photos. You have a great time with your cocktail hour. You enjoy your dinner. You actually get to eat some of your dinner. And you mingle with your guests. You party. You dance. You have your send-off at night, however you're going to do it. And you go home with your hubby, wherever home is that night. And you kiss each other and you have the best night ever. That's a vision of a day that you can accomplish with the right people in place and with all the proper planning in place. So keep that feeling in your head, and all this 2 months turning around between you and your planner, you are now tag team partners, and you are going to knock this wedding out and get all these details locked in beforehand. This is why having a very competent person, I can't say it enough, is going to be so helpful for you, because you're going to bust your butt getting all these details together before your day. But when your day hits, when your weekend hits, it's on, and you're just going to enjoy yourself, period. That's what I want for you. Okay, so that's why you need a planner or day of coordinator. Your gown is super critical, obviously, in 2 months. If you don't have your gown yet, which I will say, that is something I also did before my 2-month panic attack hit. When did we get a gown? I think I locked that in maybe May or June. It might have been May. It might have been early May. Again, I told you in the summer I was doing nothing. So I take it back. I locked in the venue and I locked in my gown, and then that was it. Through the summer I didn't do anything, which I should have, but I didn't. So for you, you got 2 months to go. Watch my gown video because it's going to be very important. I'll link it up in the cards up here. If you're listening on podcast, go back and listen to the first podcast. It's all about what should a 40-year-old bride wear. Watch that. It's got lots of tips and ideas, but you're going to have to get a gown ASAP. If you're within that 2-month window, I highly recommend looking at department stores and looking at bridal shops where you can get something off the rack immediately on a discount and ideally something that doesn't require a lot of alterations, because your alterations person is going to need at least 4 weeks. And it really depends on how intense your dress is, how involved it is, because if it's a very involved gown with lots of layers and all this that have to all be handled by your seamstress or alterations person, that takes time, and they got to get in their pipeline, and they got tons of other dresses to work on besides yours. So at least 4 weeks, I would say. Maybe depending if it's a very simple dress, maybe 2 weeks. It depends on who it is and how busy they are, but you're going to need to lock down a gown ASAP as well. So look at department stores, look at your bridal shops, try to get something off the rack that doesn't have to be shipped in and flown in and made, months in advance. You want something that's there right now that can fit you and be taken in where it needs to be by a seamstress. Depending on the kind of vision you have for your day, you might be able to find something at a consignment shop or even Goodwill, dare I say. Be creative. It depends on your vision and what the kind of dress that you need. But think of that. And I would highly recommend department stores because they've got plenty of off the rack stuff. And then you could take it to an alterations person and you look like $1 million. It's really, you just need something that fits well and you feel good in and look good in. And it doesn't matter how much it costs. It doesn't matter if it was just a couple $100. Nobody cares. You look amazing in it. And that's the point. So gown, watch the video, but get that locked in ASAP as well. That needs to happen like week 2, or if you can squeeze it in week 1, make it week 1. Invitations. We a little bit talked about invitations, sort of, like communicating a save the date, but to finally get your invitations out the door, again, you got to have your list, because the list is going to dictate numbers. You got to have numbers in order to be able to order the proper number of invitations. So I would highly recommend looking around on Instagram in your local area, hashtag surf, look around for wedding invitations, hashtag wedding invitations. Troll the people who post wedding invitations. So that would be your local planners, your photographers, people like that, and look around, see if you see invitations that you like locally, and go find who it was that they tagged in that photo, and then use that to go contact people. See who can get it in your budget and in your time frame. So this might involve picking up the phone and calling people, or if it's a younger, more very responsive person, you can hit them up on the DM and Instagram, and they can hit you up like this, and you can have a nice working relationship very quickly. So I found a local freelancer. She was amazing. She was awesome. She did a really cool like jagged edge rose gold thing, because my ring, I don't have my ring on today, I have on my wedding band, but yeah, even my wedding band is rose gold. It's so cute, it's so dainty cute, as opposed to my engagement ring, which is like chunky huge. But anyway, so this is nice to wear just a dainty thing sometimes without the engagement ring. She did a rose gold element, kind of with this jagged edge thing. It was so cute. And then the rest was just classic black font serif type. Very lovely, so elegant. I loved everything about it. Very nice. We did a little vellum envelope. All that, I just went with her recommendations. Like I just gave her, a couple images, like here's the day, here's the look, here's the feel. That goes back to vision, because you got to be able to communicate that, or else all this is going to take really long to get through, because they're going to be like, what about this? It's going to be nothing like what you were thinking about, but it's because you didn't communicate your vision. So you got to be able to communicate your vision to these vendors so that they can catch that vision real fast, give you back their recommendations real fast, and you can roll. That's another key thing I should have said right in the very beginning, is about decision making. You gotta be able to make decisions quickly. This is not time to hem and haw around and all of this. You got to be able to move, honey. And so that's why, again, you got to know budget and numbers so that you can move and make decisions fast. If you are not a quick decision maker, like if you're like my hubby's not, he takes a very long time to make decisions when it involves money and something important. Like he will just dwell on it and he will sit on it forever and ever, and so unless there's a gun to his head, as is his favorite phrase, where he's got to make a decision fast, he prefers to take a really long time. And if that's you might need someone on your team who can help you make decisions fast, because that's what you've got to be able to do. You got to be flexible and make quick decisions. Overarching themes of all this: flexible, make quick decisions, have your vision in place. I'm sorry I keep saying it, but it's so important. Another pro tip, I feel is a pro tip for your invitations, is to link the RSVP to an online element. So this is another thing you got to set up is your wedding website. Very easy to do. I did mine with withjoy.com. Easy, free, easy to set up. It helps you in the back end keep track of all your attendees and blah, 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 who's RSVP, who hasn't, meal choices, everything. So if you set up your wedding website ASAP in that first 2 weeks, set up your wedding website. By the time you get your invitations printed, you can already have that link. Ours was withjoy.com/Andrea Mark. And then we had our little password included on the actual wedding invitations. So people go to the site, they put in the password, and they can RSVP everything. They're +1 if they were allowed a +1, which is great because those sites allow you to include a +1 or not. And then you could also include your meal choice and that kind of thing. And so they could do that all online versus the very old school way is you have this nice, lovely thing, RSVP card that costs extra money for your invitations, and people mail it back. You got to wait for the mail to come back, blah, blah, blah. You don't have time for that in 2 months. You don't have time for that in 2 months. It's cute, it's lovely, it's traditional. If you must have it, have at it. But just know you need to get those invitations out like week 1. You need to have it all together in week 1 in order for that to happen and get your RSVPs back in time. But I would say if you can incorporate that online element and have your freebie wedding website set up, which by the way can also include your registry and everything else, then you can just give people the link and log it. So here's the downside to that is you're going to have to help your elderly and your non-tech savvy people. They're going to call you and they're going to be like, Andrea, I can't, can you just put me down? And the nice thing is with these websites, you can go in and manually record RSVPs yourself and say, yes, I know Sally is coming and she wants chicken. You can do that yourself because it gives you that capability. So don't worry about the elderly and non-tech savvy. There will be a couple of people like that you're going to have to directly help. Otherwise, other people will get their young kids to help them or whomever. But I just think that's the way to go. Send a nice, lovely invitation in the mail. People will love it. Some people will put it on their fridge. Other people will chuck it after they write down all the info, and that's okay. That's what they're for, is the information. But at the end of the day, they have the information. They're able to log into your site, record their RSVP. Saves you money on your invitations, saves everyone time. Everything's already electronic. It's perfect. That's my recommendation. On to your vendors. You're gonna have to lock in your vendors ASAP as well, of course. So once you've gotten through week 1, week 2, week 3, you need to really be on your vendors ASAP, or as soon as you can get to this. Once you start checking things off your list, you're gonna need your florist, your photographer, your videographer if you're gonna have one. You're gonna need your cake person, hair, makeup, transportation. What am I forgetting? Your officiant, your entertainment, and a pet sitter. If you have a pet, you're gonna wanna get a pet sitter. I promise you for that day. Trust me. Even for that weekend, we had one for a whole weekend pet sitter. It was $90. It was worth every penny for the whole weekend. So we didn't have to deal with our puppy. I could not have dealt with my puppy, would have been too much. It was already like kind of stressful to like go from thing to thing to thing to thing. And to have to deal with a puppy or dog in the process is just too much. Get a pet sitter. So all those vendors are very, very important. You're gonna have to lock them in as soon as possible. So very quickly, I'll just touch on each one real fast for you. For your florist, make sure that your ceremony flowers are repurposable if possible for your reception. So, I mean, this is budget savvy for those who are budget savvy. If you got astronomical budget, help yourself. But for the budget savvy, make sure that your florals are movable, which means they can't be massive, heavy, anchored down, and they're impossible to move, and they can't, they're only, once they're in place, they're in place. These have to be movable floral arrangements so that whatever you use in your ceremony can be transferred to your reception. You can use them as centerpieces or things for your sweetheart table, and that way you're getting the most bang out of your buck for your florals that day. Right now in 2021, everyone is telling me that flowers are double what they were last year. We felt that pain. We paid a lot of money. It was like probably $4K, close to $5K for flowers for our day. And this wasn't even like extravagant, like tons and tons of flowers. We had like maybe 5 centerpieces. I didn't have tons of bridesmaids. This is another thing, like try to keep your bridesmaid number, your wedding party down low, because all those florals add up. Everybody's going to have a bouquet. Everyone's going to have a little bouquet. You have to have your big bouquet. Every groomsman is going to have the little boutonniere. And then we added on an extra special touch of a corsage for our VIPers. So my special girlfriends who I didn't get to put in my bridal party because we just weren't going to have a big, huge party, but I still love them very much and I wanted them to feel honored. They got corsages and those were like $45 a piece. So your very, very special friends, your aunts and soon to be aunts on his side or your partner's side, very special friends, aunts, sisters, consider your sisters. I had one sister who wasn't in our bridal party, but I still wanted her to know she's very much loved and special. And so I made sure she had a corsage. People like that. Your VIP list is another list you're going to want to make ASAP because that's going to help dictate the florals that you need. So your florist, and this is why you got to have your vision in place. They're going to want to see pictures and all that is going to help them immediately realize what you need, what you want, and they got to know numbers, which is also very important. So if they have numbers and they know this is 100 people or it's 75 people, and therefore that means we're going to have 10 to 12 tables, which means we need 6 big centerpieces and 6 little centerpieces. You see how this works out. So you need numbers to dictate tables so you can figure out everything else, how basically budget, your floral budget. So does everything have to be florals? No, but most people do use florals for their wedding and you likely will as well. So you got to know numbers in order to be able to dictate all this, and you got to have your photos to be able to show to your florist so she can properly quote you, or he can properly quote you an accurate budget for this wedding. And you got to be able to lock them in ASAP, so they're going to want their money up front. That $5K had to go up front. It just did. Ugh. But it turned out gorgeous and I loved it. And we saved all the flowers and afterwards we gave them to elderly people in our family. My dad helped me give them to some of our elderly and like church members he had. He's a pastor of a small church. It was just nice to be able to like have that as a gift afterwards. So people are like, flowers are such a waste of money. They're not. You want them for your wedding, you get them, and they're not a waste of money. Period. Your cake. Also, your cake person is going to want to see images too. So be ready with an image of the types of cakes that you want. And then they're going to give you a laundry list of flavors. Don't sweat over this too much. You can have a cake tasting, but the main thing is lock that cake vendor down. If it's got the look that you want and their reviews are nice and they seem like they probably do good tasting cakes, that's what you need. So be flexible, lock them down, do your cake tasting later, do your cake tasting, you can pick the flavors and the look and all that will come together, but you gotta lock them down. The key to all this is lock these vendors down. And it requires money, and it requires vision, and it requires those photos. Your photographer, videographer is going to be so important. So photographer, for us, we had a wonderful, fantastic, magical photographer. I want to say we probably did like 4K with our photographer, which sounds pricey. Also, all this is pricey, but she was worth her weight in gold. I promise you, all this for me, it was worth it. You need to know the type of vision you want for your day. Some people are not really they don't care about photography. This all also depends on your priorities as well. So in vision, consider your priorities also. But for your priorities for the day, if photography is very important to you, it's very important to me because we were not going to get a professional videographer. So I wanted to make sure we had a wonderful, fantastic, marvelous, highly competent photographer on hand who could capture our day, because that's all we were really going to have. So I will say we ended up, because we had a virtual wedding, we used a service called Wetfully, and that is who helped us coordinate our Zoom. I'm going to do a whole video all about this, but basically for $800 we were able to have a Zoom coordinator. She hosted it online, she greeted people, she had our PowerPoint up, she had music playing for people. We had my cousin, who happens to be like a filmography kind of a student / worker, like that's his space, is filmography and videography. He was our in-person coordinator in tandem with our Webfleet coordinator online. So he set up all the cameras and made, did sound checks and everything. All this happened without me even having to know about it. So this is what's so great about it. So that happened to be whatever happened on Zoom and whatever happened with, my cousin, whom I told him, just get what you can. We had a Canon camera and we were like, if you can get video, great. If you can get extra images, great. And I gave him a nice sizable thank you for all his work that day, because it was pretty substantial. And he also edited a video for me afterwards, which ended up so much better than I thought. Like, I really was not planning on having any kind of decent video whatsoever for my wedding, and it ended up being awesome. So you may luck up and have that, but my expectations were really low for that. I was like, I'm not expecting any kind of videography for that day, and whatever. I was like, whatever my cousin gets, it's fine. We'll just look at it. It'll just be for us. And it'll just be, it won't be anything we per se post online. Like, look at this gorgeous professional thing we got. We didn't want to spend an extra $5K on, or however much it would have been. I don't even know. It could have been $8K for videography for that day. So we just did the Wedfully thing for $800. I paid my cousin a nice sum for his work, and that's what we have for videography. But if videography is very, very important for you, and I would have loved that if we could have prioritized that in our budget, but that was one of the things we let go. Make sure you lock in your videographer early. But photography, videography, you want to make sure you lock those people in fast. And again, some people are more picky on that than others. You may be very, very picky about your photography, and especially if you're very well versed and you work in this space a lot, which I do. So I was fairly particular, but I already knew, just looking at her work, this chick's gonna work. Shout out to Hope Ballinger, you're amazing. Lock those people in fast, because the best people get locked up months, years in advance, and you've got 2 months. So you got to be, this is an area where you're gonna have to be flexible, but move. And again, that deposit, it's not even hardly gonna be a deposit. It's basically gonna be right up front money at this point. You're gonna have to pay that right away, the whole amount, basically. Also remember that you got tips for all these people towards the end of the night or the next day. Thankfully, a lot of people let us do it the next day, which is fine. So thankfully, all that worked out. Your entertainment is also very critical. So your band, your DJ, whatever you're gonna have, I don't care if you're playing a list off of your phone, you gotta practice that and make sure ahead of time that that's gonna flow well and not have ads playing in commercials. Whatever your plan is for music for that day, a band, a DJ, whatever your entertainment is, singers, you're gonna have to lock that in and be flexible. Again, this is where a planner really comes in helpful, because he or she may have contacts or be able to find those contacts. Take recommendations. Local recommendations can help as well, but you're basically looking for recommendations from your planner or whoever you can find in the area. Your venue may have some recommendations for you, and at the end of the day, your research is going to come into play here. You're going to have to go hunt people down and watch videos and listen to people and see if they are the vibe that you want for your day. So add that to your list of vendors to lock down ASAP. And it's very important, because your DJ is likely going to be your MC announcing you as you come into your reception. He or she is going to be like the life of the party, the fun. And so they can make or break your experience for your wedding day. Our DJ and our band were amazing. Like, people had so much fun. We had so much fun, and our people had so much fun. And we did like a New Orleans style, like second line band thing with our umbrellas, because my hubby got roots in New Orleans, and a lot of his people have roots in New Orleans. His mother's side does. And so we just went with that for a fun surprise theme, and people were like so tickled with that, and they loved it. They were like, really, like, everybody was moving and enjoyed that so much. I did. I had a ball dancing with them, and everybody else had a ball, and it was just the best touch. So, and your DJ, I'm like, our DJ was awesome fun. Like, everything he played, people were like super feeling it, and they can read the room and they know what to play. So you give them like a direction, a playlist, but they will roll with it and just, go with the vibe of the room, and they are worth their weight in gold. So that's what I'll say about entertainment. All right, so next is your bridal party. So we kind of talked about bridesmaid dresses. You can go through the traditional route if it's going to get there on time. through David's Bridal or someplace like that, local, that you can find. If your girls are local, mine were not local, mine were all over the place. So I had 2 in South Carolina, I'm here in Atlanta, had 1 here in Atlanta and 1 in Florida. So they were all over the place. So if a place like David's Bridal didn't work, which it wouldn't, to get there in time for the dresses that we wanted, had no time. And this was in that 2-month time frame. What we ended up doing was going on Amazon, thanks to my sister's suggestion. And I was kind of leery about that, like, what kind of dresses are we going to get out of Amazon? But it turned out marvelous. They were these sequin dresses, good prices, not extravagant, which, you know, let's be honest, David's Bridal is a little extravagant sometimes with their prices for what you get. The advantage is you get them in bulk, and so it's kind of helpful that you can get lots of dresses in bulk in the same color, and they're all going to be spot on exactly the same. So we had 3 girls in sequins, and I have 1 sister who is LGBTQ, and I had her in a suit, and we tried to get her dress off of Amazon, her suit off of Amazon to match. Totally didn't work. We tried 2 suits came in, the color was just not right. It was just too off. It was kind of purpley next to our kind of corally, I don't want to call it corally, it was more of a blushy pink, like a peachy pink. It ended up being like a peachy pink. I thought I was going to do blush, which kind of all worked. The palette, thank God, all worked. That's kind of like the pins and needles point of all this, is like, is this palette gonna come together? But it did. I think somehow the palette gods come together and it all works out for you on your day. But it could have went all wrong, which is part of the problem of doing it like very last minute. But this is why the vision board is so helpful. So as you get products in, as suits, attire starts coming in, even bow ties, I was trying to get samples of all of them from everyone. A groomsman got a bow tie in, you know, with his whole suit, and I wanted his bow tie so I could compare it to the dress. You guys see them in person, because what you see online and what you see in person, as you know, are very different things. The lighting is different, everything's different, so you got to see it in person. The last thing I'll say about bridesmaids is robes. So if you're going to do a robe shot, and robes are fun for you, that was a kind of a fun priority for me, was to have bridesmaid robes so we could do our cool like mimosa robe shots and everything, and just enjoy our robes while we're getting ready and all that cool stuff. I got them monogrammed off of Etsy, and it's really cool because Etsy has that thing where you can check to see if it's going to arrive in time and all that good stuff. So that all worked out. But I will say I was not planning on spending extra money for them to get steamed. So for my gown and 4 bridesmaid robes to get steamed, I want to say it was almost close to $300 to get them steamed the Saturday before the wedding. So that's another thing to plan for. That's a little extra, little expense I wasn't planning on, and you know, so I'm telling you, so you can plan on that. Steaming for your gown and bridesmaid robes, if you're going to have them, that needs to happen basically like the day before your wedding or 2 days before. It's going to cost a little pretty penny depending on your gown and what kind of gown it is and all that kind of stuff. And the robes on top of that each have their own little cost. Again, another reason to have a smaller party if you can. The groomsmen, we just ended up getting them through the blacktux.com, which is the suit and tie arm of David's Bridal. So that was kind of easy. Thankfully, it all worked. We had a little issue with the vest coming in, and we ended up having to get like this slightly off color of blue, a midnight blue, to go with their navy suit. It ended up all working out, and the palette all worked. I'll show you a picture for those of you who can see the visuals on YouTube. You know, and if you can't see the visuals because you're listening on a podcast, go to my Instagram and you'll see a shot of my wedding party, which is really cool. So the palette worked out great. It was like navies and blushes, like a peachy blush kind of a color, and it all flowed, which was my main point. This is a point of flexibility, is at the end of the day, you just want it to flow. You want your color palette to flow together. They might not be exact matches, and you kind of have to, for me, I was okay with that if they didn't exactly match, but as long as it flowed together, meaning the colors weren't shockingly off and they weren't so clearly didn't belong together, then it was fine. I forgot to tell you, by the way, the LGBTQ sister, we ended up having my mom, who sews, sewed her suit, which was at the end of the day, I really didn't want her to do that, and because, you know, it's been a long time since she's sewn like a whole outfit, I think, but she wanted to do it. She ended up doing it, and she was late coming to the bridal suite, getting over to the venue, because she was still trying to hem her own dress and finish sewing up, hemming up my sister's suit, and it was just taking so long. And we were like, Mom, get your butt over here, girl. You know, and it was just taking all day. She was, you know, because at the end of the day, she's like me. She wants to have a good time. So she was out the night before, hanging out with everyone. The day before, she was getting to the site and getting to the area. And the week before, I don't know what she was doing. I'm sure, you know, working on it as she can, because she still works. And so she just didn't have the time. And so that was hard. I wish one of the Amazon ones would have worked out, but her suit ended up working out and the color flowed. And I'm just grateful that we had her to do that. But if I could do it all again, that was one piece that I wish we could have just bought and it worked. But we bought 2 of them and they didn't work, and we ended up having to last minute get that sewn, and it was hard. So that's one of the things that's kind of like, you know, toss it over the shoulders. Can't cry with spilled milk. I also recommend getting groomsmen gifts off of Etsy. So, you know, those little like canteen type of things, you know, for drinks and stuff. You can get their initials on it and all that good stuff. You can get them on Etsy. My usher gifts, which were just little leather keychains just to say thanks, were off of Etsy. Like every little gift, hostess gifts, mother of the groom gifts, mother of the bride gifts, father of the groom gifts, which are little cufflinks with my little baby picture on it. And it was like, I'm always gonna be your girl, little cufflinks, so cute. That was off of Etsy also. So all the little gifts that you got to get, which honestly, all those gifts add up. I don't even want to tell you how much I spent. It was probably a grand total on gifts and welcome basket gifts. On top of that, we did like a little champagne-ish, like Prosecco type of bottle, and, you know, in a box with some pralines, because that's New Orleans, and we stuck that in the box with like a little picture of one of us in there, depending on who it was. If it was his family, I put a picture of me and like a little factoid on the back about me. If it was my family, I put a picture of him or like one of his family people and a factoid about his side of the family, just so people can feel more connected, because these are new people. They don't know them, they don't know anything about them. You know all about them, but your family doesn't know anything. And so it's nice to like help people get tidbits of all this. And I will say, you know, back to the Facebook group comment, well, we should do a whole video about this, but in the Facebook groups, I use those as a place to showcase our bridal party and kind of do a little bio. I had my bridal party kind of write up little bios about themselves, or me, I wrote up bios and had them okay them and had a picture of them. I'll show you what that looks like for those of you who can see this. It was like a little showcase, like a highlight, like meet our flower girl. It was so cute. And it was like, you know, it told you a little bit about her and some fun stuff. And by the time people got to the wedding, they kind of felt like they knew the bridal party, which was fun, you know, so you kind of feel like you know some people you don't know yet, which was kind of cool. Because most of the times you come to weddings and you have no idea who these people are, you kind of don't care. But once you kind of know something about people, it makes you care a little bit, right? Like, oh, well, yeah, that's the little girl who does ballet and also plays soccer. Oh, and she's so good at school. Cute, cute. Nice little touches that you can do if you have time. But I highly recommend Facebook groups, but keep them separate for your in-person attendees and your virtual attendees. You do not want to mix the two, because that's just not good. Keep them separate. Finally, a must-have is a teardown crew. And we had, I'm not even going to the little mini drama around this teardown crew, but when I say teardown crew, I mean all the little things that have to come back with you at the end of the night, or come back with your people at the end of the night. They cannot be there at the venue. And so it's basically anything that doesn't belong at the venue that none of your vendors are responsible for. So obviously anything to do with florals, your vendor is responsible for that. If they brought any kind of hardware for you and that kind of thing, that's a floral vendor's responsibility. Anything to do with the venue, typically your chairs, your tables, all that kind of stuff, the venue handles. So your people, you don't have to worry about setup, breakdown, anything for all that, typically, depending on the venue. Unless it's like a community center or something, then you might have to plan for that. But if it's a typical wedding venue, they handle all that. The stuff you're going to have to handle is stuff like gifts, any kind of gifts that were brought to the party, you're going to have those taken back, and you have to plan for the transportation for those. So you need arms to help carry gifts, cards, your card box, your guest book is going to have to come back with you. We had like a little Polaroid thing so people could take Polaroid pictures and put in the guest book. Those little tiny things come back. We actually had to buy, because our florist didn't have these tall centerpiece gold things that we put together. Those all had to come back with us because those were ours. They were personal items. Anything in your bridal suite that you brought with you is going to have to come back. Basically, any little extras, extra favors, all this. So just think, it's a nice little truckloads worth of stuff from your wedding likely that you're going to have to need. You need some hands for at the end of the night to put into the truck. Hopefully it's just one carload. We happen to have an extra U-Haul because I had this fantastic antique sofa from my grandma's house that she let us use for photos, which is so amazing. It's such a personal, awesome touch. We got a little U-Haul trailer for that, and we ended up using that to stuff everything else in. Flowers at the end of the night went in there, and then they got given the next morning to elderly in the family and all that good stuff. So you are going to need a little teardown crew, and you need to identify those people beforehand and let them know that they're needed at the end of the night. Like, don't just leave, because you're going to need that help, and you need to identify them. Don't just assume that people will just jump in and help, because think about it, they've been partying, they've been having a good time, they've been drinking, so they're on feel good mode, and unless they know ahead of time that responsibility is theirs, if your planner comes up to them later and is like, hey, ready to help with these boxes, again, it's not going to be droves of boxes, but it's enough where if you have four guys or 4 people who can just kind of quickly help put that stuff in a car for you, it'll be easy peasy done, 15-20 minutes, however long it is, and then you're good to go. But if you have no one designated, then imagine what that's like at the end of the night after party mode, trying to get people to help pick things up and put them in cars when they weren't expecting to do that beforehand. Not going to go over well. So have a tear down crew in place, but just make sure you explain to them clearly what that means. We're not asking them to, obviously, which is not obvious to some people, we're not asking them to break down tables and chairs and break a sweat. We're just asking for light-handed help in the night. Many hands make light work. Put the stuff in a car so we can all leave. The end. All right, and those are all the mandatory things that you must do for your wedding. Now, that's the high priority. There are some nice touch things that you may want to add once all the high priority things are taken care of, vendors and all this that we just talked through. The nice to haves are next. So if you have time and you get time, here's some extra stuff that you're going to want to add into your list of things to do. So next is a registry. I did not put that in the high priority because at the end of the day, if you're at this level in life in your 40s, 50s, you have stuff already. You don't really need a registry per se. Most people don't. That's usually for like when you're real young and you kind of have nothing yet in terms of household wares and all this. There's all kinds of things you can do now with the registry. The only reason I put this in the low priority is because people will ask for it because they're used to giving some kind of gifts. So you need to give them away. Even when you say you don't want gifts, you don't have to give us money, you don't have to give gifts. There will be people who just will want to give you something. So direct that energy to an appropriate place. Make some kind of registry for those people who will want to give you gifts. If there are things you need in your household, make a list for that. If, for instance, you are an author and you want to get funds towards a book that you're writing or something, you could potentially use your registry for that. I recommend Honey Fund, which is a way for people to contribute towards your honeymoon if you like. That's one to check out. My Registry is a lovely one, so you can kind of combine registries all into one place. And even places that don't have a registry of their own, like Home Depot, because we're in a fixer-upper house and we need like renovation stuff. I put like some Home Depot things. I was able to do that through my registry because Home Depot doesn't have a traditional registry list. Neither does Lowe's. I really wish they did, but they don't. So I was able to kind of shop around, and when I was looking online and I found something on Home Depot that I wanted, like flooring or whatever, not that anybody's bought any of that stuff, but it's just cool to have it available. And what's cool is I already picked it out, so when I want it later, I can just go back to my registry and say, what was that flooring I liked? And I can go back and get it myself. When you're shopping online, you just, for instance, go to the Home Depot thing you want, You hover over it, and you'll have an icon once you sign up for the little button to add to your browser on My Registry. You just click that and it pulls up the images on the page. You click the image that you want to add to your registry, you put in a little info about it, and you save it, and now it's on your registry for people to buy. So that was a good one too. My Registry can house your other extra stuff like Home Depot. Wayfair stuff was on My Registry. So Wayfair does have a registry, and you can combine it with My Registry. All of this can be available and linked through your withjoy.com website, which is what we used. But if you use other stuff like the knot.com has sites, there's so many places you can find a wedding website. Whatever you use, you can link it all to your registry through your wedding website. And so when people log in, they can get to your registry. They don't even have to ask you, it's there. So that's the point of having things done digitally, virtually. Nice to have, bridal shower or engagement party. So we'll do a whole video about this, but we did have a virtual engagement party. It was just because my future sister-in-law, now current sister-in-law, asked to do that so our families could meet, because they're in DC, we're here in Atlanta, Georgia, Alabama area, Florida, all these other places. So we did a virtual engagement party through Zoom and just let people meet, and we just kind of have fun, had a fun time doing a virtual meet and greet. Small, intimate, but I will say I did send, because it was small-ish, I kind of sent these welcome engagement gift boxes ahead of time so that people had little bubbly to toast with us when we did our toast section of our engagement party. And that was very much appreciated. People were like, ooh, it's fancy. But the problem is that this is when I learned that you cannot ship alcohol yourself across state lines or otherwise. You basically can't ship alcohol yourself without a license. So I had all these things boxed up and then couldn't use them. So I ended up spending like $1,000 of my own money, like at the last minute, through this kind of wine shipping service. And if I find that, I will share it here for you so you can use it also. I'm doing another video about engagement parties too, virtual engagement parties. But that's what I ended up having to do last minute. And so I'd already bought all this bubbly Prosecco. And then what I ended up doing with that was repurposing it for welcome hotel basket gifts. So anybody who was coming out of town, anybody who got a hotel room for our wedding, there were plenty of people who just could drive up for the day and drive back. But for the people who were staying, they flew in, or it was too far to go back, or it was going to be too late at night. For those people, we got hotel welcome baskets, and they were just a cute little box. We put the little bubbly in there with some pralines and boxed it up and packaged it for them. It was there waiting for them, connected to their hotel room. So when they checked in, they got their basket, their welcome basket. It was so cute, and it had like our wedding ribbon around it. And people just thought that was such a nice touch. Like, you feel a little VIP when you arrive at a hotel and they're like, wait, we have a box for you. Nice. It's nice. That's a nice touch. It's a nice to have. Is it mandatory? No, but if you have time, it's nice. Another nice to have is some kind of welcome event. So as people are flying in from out of town, can you have like a little cocktail get together kind of a thing? So this could be, this we did in lieu of a traditional wedding rehearsal dinner. Another thing we could do a whole video about, but in lieu of a whole wedding rehearsal dinner where you have like all these people come in and you're basically paying, by the time you invite the whole wedding party, all your immediate family and any out-of-town guests, you kind of, in our case, like that, we almost would be paying for 2 weddings. It was basically, we're feeding people 2 days in a row, and we just didn't want that in our budget. So what we did was a nice little cocktail hour. It was a beautiful open air rooftop bar at the hotel we were at, brand new hotel, and it overlooked the river, and it was just so nice. We did not reserve a table because that alone would have been $10,000, which is ridiculous. That again would be like, again, putting on some kind of mini wedding, which was ridiculous. So we just opted to just show up and take over a place, and we ended up having a nice amount of space. Luckily, it all worked out. But again, that's another thing. If you have more time, you could plan. I was desperately trying to find like some kind of river restaurant where we could do this, something similar at, and reserve a room, reserve a big enough table, anything. Couldn't find anything. in time. And so luckily that worked out. But if you have time, you could potentially find something that works for you, and you can have a nice little welcome party type of thing. But it's totally up to you budget wise if you choose to do like a whole dinner. My planner was like, you're not expected to do a big rehearsal dinner where you pick up the tab for that too, because tradition and all this says like one of the parents pay for all that, and we weren't putting anything on our parents. So, again, we're grown people here. So yeah, we just decided to do a cocktail hour. We paid for a round of bubbly for toasts, and we paid for like appetizers, like a round of appetizers for people. And then after that, it was on them if they wanted more drinks and all this, or more food, or they wanted to go downstairs and do dinner, or stay upstairs and grab a burger or whatever's on the menu there. They could do that on their own, but we were just there to kind of supply the bubbly for toast and a nice little snack. I thought that was good. Even that, she was like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to feel obligated. But we just did that little bit, and I thought it was good. Final nice to have among many things that you can do is a post-wedding brunch. So after everything's over, the next day, if people are still in town, and many people will be, before they leave, you could absolutely do a little wedding brunch for those who can, and that requires some coordination. So that could be on your RSVP too, your online RSVP, to see who's interested in brunch afterwards. And again, you can use your Facebook groups to communicate to see who's really, really coming. But we ended up just having a nice, small, intimate, it might have been like 12 of us for brunch afterwards. It was just our immediate family, some aunts and things on his side and my side. And they just stopped through. And if they couldn't stay for brunch, they just knew where we were, and they could stop through and say hi, because we were in the hotel, the host hotel. And it was a pretty spot because it overlooked the river. So we were outside, outdoors. So it was COVID nicer that way. And that's how we kind of did our send off for people. So that's another nice to have. Must you have it? No. Is it nice? Yes. Finally, after your wedding's over, after you've had the best day ever, the most joyous, the most heart-filled, the most fun day ever with you and your new hubby and your friends and family and all this. After all that, and after the brunch, and after everything's done and you go home, then worry about your thank you cards and your honeymoon. So 2 months, not really enough time to really get a honeymoon together unless you're doing like a staycation kind of local somewhere. But if you want to go off somewhere, maybe 2 months isn't enough time frame to get it in. We opted to do ours late May next year because we kind of want to go to Spain. We hope we can go to Spain. So crossing fingers this all works out. We had all kinds of issues. His passport expired, all kinds of stuff happens. So for that reason, we kind of opted to do this later next year. It gives us time to get his passport together, and then also get the best flights and do some research and figure out where we want to be and what we want to do and all that good stuff. So we just opted to do all that afterwards. And I think that was nice. Unless you are very, very set and it's a big priority for you to be able to whisk away to a honeymoon right afterwards, don't worry about that. Do it later. I will say though that for me personally, and I want to know if other brides felt like this. So if you got this far in the video, first of all, God bless you. And secondly, let me know in the comments below how you felt if you are married. But for me, after all that was over, after 2 months of craziness and just so many things to take into consideration. We didn't even talk about like table arrangements. That would have to be a whole nother video. Table arrangements, who sits where. I highly recommend a seating chart. You absolutely should have a seating chart. Even with open seating, that can be so problematic. So seating charts are necessary, but it takes a lot of brain work to think through who should be at what tables, and a lot of rearranging scenarios and all this. So we'll talk about that another day. But after all that, honestly, a honeymoon would be nice to be whisked away to, because your brain is just not in work world. You kind of just want to, it's so cathartic. You kind of just want to breathe and relax and let your hair down and do much of nothing and just enjoy your honey and your time together. My brain was not in business mode. My brain was not in work mode. For like 2-3 weeks, I was like kind of doing work, but I was kind of floating and like, my head's not here yet work. So we both went back to work, but it was like kind of hard to do that. So if you can, business owners, career professionals, wherever you are and however you make money, see if you can get some time off, plan some time off, even if it's not your official honeymoon, just a break, even if it's only a week, will be so helpful. So luckily for me, what helped was I just made those weeks light. Like I didn't plan anything big during those 2-3 weeks after the wedding. I tried not to have meetings. I tried not to have anything major due, project deadlines, anything like that. And that way I could kind of take it easy. Even though we were still working and I was still working in my business, I just kind of took it easy and not took on a whole lot. And thankfully this is the great point of having clients as friends. So, I have a great rapport with all of my clients, and they were also just naturally understanding, and they kind of, backed off and gave me my breathing space after the wedding, which, I would do for a friend too, so I totally get it. And they totally got it. If you can afford some time, even if it's not your honeymoon yet, just some time to breathe, that would be so great. And then plan your honeymoon that you want later. All right, but just make sure you do it, because like one of my good clients say, who's a love doctor type, is so awesome. He's like, if you don't plan for these investments in your marriage, you'll never do it. And you'll set a precedence for not taking those vacations and not having that beautiful quality travel time together and all that good stuff. So make sure that honeymoon happens. I'm talking to myself. We will make sure we go to Spain. Okay. Random last tip. Okay, so the week of, there's 2 quick things you're going to want to make sure you do, which is 1, make sure you plan to get your gown and robe steamed. I said that before, but I'm just making sure you remember the week of, like 2 days before, go get your gown steamed and your robes for your bridesmaids steamed if you're getting robes. And also go plan to get your nails and toes done, mani-pedi for you, relax, pamper time, like 2 days before, basically before all the havoc happens. Don't do it the day before when people are there. Do it before people get there. So 3 days before, get those nails and toes done. Enjoy yourself. All right, my dears, and this was just the most extra long video ever. These totally could be chopped up into several little videos. I might do that, but I just really wanted you to have a real comprehensive view of what to do, because if I were in your shoes, I would have watched a video like this and I would have been taking notes like, right, I need to make sure I do this and this and this. Oh, that was a great point. Because they're really, honestly, everything I'm telling you that I told you in this video were great points. And I thank you for watching this and listening to this extra long special edition of the 40-Year-Old Bride, but it had to be done. And I will break these up into smaller things later, and we'll delve into detail for those of you who love that detail, because I do, and I find it helpful. And I pray to God somebody else out there besides me finds this stuff helpful. I know somebody out there does. So again, thank you for coming here to my channel, my newbie channel. Please do subscribe to this channel if you like this content, like this video, and subscribe to the channel if you're listening on podcast. Make sure you rate and review us and subscribe on podcast, wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are. We are out there now. And so make sure you do that. And finally, make sure you follow me. Come say hi at Andrea Theo John on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I now have a little Facebook group, which you can join, ladies. If you want to come in and chat, dating, getting engaged, wedding planning, marriage, just relationship, love tips in general with each other. I so want to have those conversations. And so if you are up for that and you want to do that in a safe, private space, come find my Facebook group. Just look for Andrea Theo John on Facebook, and then you'll get an invite to the Facebook group. And you can also just look for the group called the 40-Year-Old Bride on Facebook and just, ask to be invited to the group and you'll get in. All right, my dears, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Cheers, beautifuls. Mwah.